Hey everybody, this is Max Farrell from DexTrader.com. Before you watch this video, I have to warn you, there is a lot of information here. So I need you just to be prepared, be ready, keep your ears open, have an open mind, because we're going to talk about some good things, some bad things, a little bit of things in between. And I just want to prepare you before you start. There's going to be a lot of technical information after a while. So if you got to pause this video or replay it a few times, that's completely okay. But we're going to be talking about 5-minute trading. And at the end, at the very end, I'm going to offer you something incredible. So please stick around and watch the entire thing before you take on the offer at the end. Okay, please don't skip through. Watch the entire thing, because there's going to be questions when at that offer that you're going to need to be able to answer, that you'll have answered during the video, and it'll save me a lot of time if I end up talking to you. All right, I'll see you inside. Hello everybody, we're going to get started here in about 2 or 3 minutes. Before I get started, I just wanted to let everybody know that we're going to be talking about 5-minute trading, and this is the mentality of the big shift. And there's a lot of information that's in here. If you're watching this, if you're here now and you're watching this video later on, you probably already know who I am. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about who I am in the very beginning, but not in too much great detail. Okay, because I don't want to take a lot of your time today. We are going to be talking about 5-minute trading. We're going to be talking about this mentality called the big shift. Now, stay and watch this entire thing. Okay, try not to skip by. I know I'm going to get a little technical in there in a few. I don't want your eyes to be rolling in the back of your head, okay? But stay to the end to get the special offer. It's really super special, especially if you want to be trading 5-minute trades and learning this system. You're going to get something that you will not want to pass up. I promise you. Let's just dive right in, okay? If you're all in the room and you're watching this now, I'm going to answer questions on an off-screen process here later on. But please understand that I want to be able to answer all your questions, but I got to get through all this stuff as well. So Greg and all you guys in there, I really do appreciate it. We'll ask them off recording here, because I'm recording this for all of you guys that are the other people that are out there that didn't get invited to this little seminar right now. 5-minute trading. Now, if you're here, you already know what Nadex is, right? This is not about preliminary figuring out what Nadex is, but these are all about Nadex trades and Nadex statements that are on, of course, Nadex, the North American Derivative Exchange. Okay, so if you're unsure what that is, go figure what that is. There's a lot of training on our website, Nadex Ninja and things, and then maybe come back and watch this video later on. All right, so why trade 5-minute trades? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. They are tough, right? But the risk to reward is pretty high. They're quick to make money. They're ready, available, and they're very liquid. Okay, there's a lot of them. There's 7 pairs that are going every 5 minutes. If you think that's 12 times an hour, right? That's 12 times an hour times 7. So not only do you have a large amount of opportunity, but you have a lot of data to sort through, right? So they're very short periods of time and a very quick turnaround. Now, you can make your daily amounts in a very short period of time, right? So if you're buying in for like $30 profit margin per each one, and you win 5 trades, that's $150 for if you just traded 1 contract, okay? Now, the reverse is true as well. You could lose a lot of money if you're not careful. Now, in order for me to be able to set and frame this whole entire thing, we need to kind of know what's your success rates of traders. You know, how well do they do? Who is successful? Because that's what this really comes down to, is how can we frame, okay? How can we frame a particular person and how well they do, right? There's this particular person who does moderately well. There's this person who does extremely well. And then this person who just kind of floats along, right? What are the numbers? And it really does come down to this little algorithm that's on the side here of 20% of the people that come to the websites do very well. This is a very honest interpretation of our system. And I don't want you to go into this thinking that you're going to have to buy now for 16 easy payments in $19.95. No, I am trying to tell you up front, before you even think about doing 5-minute signals again, that only about 20% of the people do very well. If you're that person who can do very well, there's a short period of time that you're going to find out. It's not months and months and months. It's a couple of weeks, and you will figure it out. And I help you figure that out, okay, if you're this person. Now, about 30% of the people that come to us, and again, we've had exit polls, and I talk to a lot of traders, they struggle and try something else, which means that they go to dailies, they go to intradays, they go to SR maxes, they go to something else, or they go to plain Forex, or they do something. And of course, 50% of people just fail and leave. Now, this mentality is really a defeatist kind of mentality, okay? Because this is where I would really love to see people, but where I really want to see people all together is in this 20%. I would love to see this number 40, 50, 60%. And it's taken me years to figure out, how is all this comparable to what we're doing? And how do I make this number bigger? And the only way that I have found that this 20% does very well and it starts to climb higher is when I personally get involved with your trading. Not me trading for you, but helping you get to those mentalities, not just watching a bunch of videos. This is sight unseen. This is untouched, right? Somebody comes on board, they get into 5-minute trades, they do it themselves, they follow my training, they use the tools, and they do so very well. So what does that look like? Well, simply enough, the 20% look like this. They follow the training. Inside the training, I teach you the flow. They listen to the market, which means that they know when they have to be in the market. They only trade certain amount of pairs. They're not trading all 7 pairs. They trade using money they can lose, okay, because the mentality is different. They use an incremental crawl method on how many contracts they get. You should know what all this information is about contracts, okay, on Nadex. They only trade a couple of times a day. They're not sitting down at the computer all day long, but they've really figured out, they've honed in exactly when they can trade and when they can't, okay? The mistakes people make that lead them to that 30% and that 50% is that they think 5-minute trading is all about how many trades they can make. Oh, you got 50 signals a day, or 100 signals an hour, or however many signals come out on the system. Because there's 7 pairs and there's 12, that's 50 something an hour that I can do. No. The more you touch the market, the more you have the opportunity to lose. And once you start losing, they start revenge trading back and forth too many times. Well, I lost that one. I can't lose this one, so I'm going to trade twice. Or I'm going to trade twice as much. I'm going to put 7 contracts on. No, this time I'm only going to put 3 contracts on. Oh, this time I'm going to put 10. They're not consistent in their buying of contracts. Also, the tools that they use that are out there, there's a lot of stuff that's out there to kind of help you get to that, but the tools we use are very simplistic. We use a simple web-based platform that's on our website. And we also have indicators from our DEX indicator side as well. But today I'm going to be talking about the web-based platform. Learning how to use the indicator is very easy, but there's 3 or 4 indicators. But in the web-based platform, it's all in one spot. Okay, and I'll go over those. The tools that they use is that simple system, and some of them use the DEX indicators. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what the ratio is between the two from web-based to DEX indicators, but I know that the flow is the same. Okay. The signal, the direction may be different at times, and they may not all match up from the indicators to the web-based, but the flow is the same. How to buy in, when to buy in, what to look at. They also use the news tools on the economic calendar to know to stay away from news completely. And of course, they're using Nadex. So the tools are there. They're easy, right? It's 1, 2, 3. Now let's talk about how many trades you really need in this process. That's one of the things we talked about earlier was how many trades do I need to be able to make this consistent? Now, before we talk about numbers on how many, I got to prepare your mind for something. And this is really important. I want to show you this equation, which is called CVG. Now, some of you have seen this, right? Some of you have been here before, have seen this. And if you're not using this in everything you do, you're preparing yourself for ultimate failure. Excuse me for 1 second. I had to take a drink of coffee there. Very excited. The consistency value here in this equation is very important because it changed my life. This equation has literally changed my life. And consistency plus volume equals your goal. And what this means is that I don't need to trade a lot, right? Let me break it down for you just a little bit, okay? Let me get over to a clean screen here. If I trade one single contract, okay, this is one contract on Nadex, okay, on a trade, and I'm always just trading one contract every time I trade, and let's just say that I trade, say, 10 times a month. Prepare yourself, okay? Or let's say a week, right? This is 10 times. I actually physically make 10 trades a week, all right? Sorry for my poor handwriting here. This pen is having a little bit of a hard time today. But this is 10 times one contract. That's 10 total contracts. And if I have an average of wins when I have $30 per contract, which really comes out to be about $28, but we'll talk about fees and all that other stuff nonsense later, right? So this really comes out to be about $300 a week, all right? So the consistency is that I trade about 10 times a week, and I'm trading one contract. So my consistency is I usually am trading about this. Sometimes it might be 12, sometimes it might be 11. It's never going to be one number all the time. It's going to change, right? But let's just say that this is the average that I trade, okay? And I got 10 winning contracts. I come out ahead, and I'm winning this amount, right? Now, how do I double this amount? How do I make this $600 a month or a week? Do I do 20 trades? No. I add a simple contract, right? Instead of trading 20 times, I just trade 10 times again, but this time I do it with 2 contracts. But I do so in a consistent value that as I'm trading, I'm always trading just 2 contracts until I get to another number. And we'll talk about incremental crawl in the training. But here, the value of getting to consistency is very important. Okay? It's the most important value, right? We have to have this consistency here in order to trust our fact that we could put an extra contract on to get to $600, right? This would be $600 right here. And once we commit to this consistency, and it shows us that at 2 contracts we got to 600 average, how do I get to 1,200? I've just traded 4 contracts each time that I trade. How do I get to 2,400? You see where this is going? So consistency is probably the most important thing you should be hunting in the very beginning. But how do we get to consistency? Well, that's another equation, unfortunately. But fortunately enough, we've dissected this to know that consistency is all about patience and discipline. Remember, patience is waiting to do the right thing. And discipline is doing the right thing once it happens. That's right. The patience is all about waiting for the proper signal. Now, I know you're probably saying to yourself, okay, listen, you're going to give me a signal. I'm just going to follow everything you put out. And the answer is no. Signals are just another tool. Signals of an arrow pointing up or an arrow pointing down is only about a marker, an event of something that's happened. And it's saying, pay attention to me. Look at the levels. Look at direction of MACD. Look at the trend. There's a whole bunch of things that you have to take in consideration. But being able to get to consistency only comes when you apply these 2 variables on board. Is waiting for the right signal. If there's 3 up arrows on a downtrend, and then comes following a down arrow. We didn't get in here. We didn't get in here. We didn't get in here. We got in right here. We waited for this to happen. Now, once this appears, getting in with a single contract at a price for $30 in that direction is the discipline to do what it takes to get it done. And once we do this with repetition, 10, 20, 30 times, and it yields us a positive result, 300, 600, 900. And we have some losses in there, of course, because there's a success ratio to everything that's done. If we're in the positive using this flow in this format, then we have obtained our consistency. And then, only then, do we add our volume, where we add in 2 contracts, 4 contracts, 6 contracts, 10 contracts, and so forth. Does that make sense? Preparing yourself for this equation is probably the most powerful thing that you will have in your success rate. And this is what sets a lot of the people apart in that 20%. is that they have the consistency because they've used patience and discipline to obtain it. Those that don't are the ones that move on, whether doing something else that Dex offers or completely something different. So now let's talk about how the equation saved my life. The design of that equation has pulled me back to a point where I know that I don't need to trade as much in a day, that I can wait for my perfect signals, that I can then apply, because right now I'm trading at 10 contracts per each one. I only need 5 or 6 trades a week to be able to give me the money I need. Let me show you a real quick spreadsheet. Now this spreadsheet, I don't know if you can see the whole thing. Let me see if I can move you over here just a little bit. The spreadsheet here is from, and today is the 23rd, and this is back from the 19th to the 20th, right? This is over one period of a day, and this is where I made my time. Okay? Now, this was only traded at 1 contract apiece because I was doing this in a demonstration with another individual, right? And this person was trading at this particular point, okay? And trading only 1 contract at a time yielded them this amount. Now, this little amount right here, it doesn't seem like a lot of money, right? In fact, I'll tell you what it is. It comes out to be about $190. About 190 bucks was won here, right? But look at the time. There's 10:25, there's 12 o'clock. There's another one like right afterwards because they got into it. Maybe another one right there, and then about an hour later, okay? So there's a lot of difference in timing, but about $190 was won at this point. Now, this is over 1 day. If they applied themselves over maybe 3 days a week, you see what I'm saying? So you times this by 3. Okay, so now you're looking at about, what, 570 bucks for the week? Now, this is them starting out in a very novice tradition of the process, only going after a handful of trades over a short period of time and then stopping. And the concept is that if they did this over a week period of 570 bucks, they're only trading 1 contract. So using that CVG method, if they had been trading 10 contracts, what would they have won for the week? Get where this is going now? Why it's important to learn CVG? Absolutely. And these are real numbers, by the way. And this is also from a live account. Now, I'm not going to sit here and show you these numbers and say, this is a live and that's a demo and this is live. 90% of the times we trade in demo. We trade all of our stuff in demo in the very beginning, but when it's live, and I tell you it's live, it's really live. Okay, so this data here is I know that this person is trading in a live account. All right, let's jump back over and we'll get on with the rest of the presentation. So basically, I showed you the aspect of the mentality, what makes a winner, what makes the system happen perfectly for some people. And before we get over to trading and showing you how to trade and use the tools and use the flow for all this stuff, the system I'm going to show you is the web-based format. And the tools here are very powerful, but let's just go down through this process before I get you to a screen where I show you the trading happening, okay? The tools using the web-based system, and we're using Nadex, we're using an open demo because we're not about losing all of our money while we're learning, okay? So that's really important. Demo in the very beginning is very important. I don't care if you're rich. This is not about being rich or poor. This is about being smart, okay? And if you're not trading with a demo in the very beginning, you're just suspect to fail. And I wouldn't really want you in the system anyway, because I don't feel like if you're not willing to heed that warning, then you're not going to be able to follow the flow. I'm being honest with you, okay? Now, we also use news information from the economic calendar. We use investing.com's economic calendar. Any news at all coming out for any pair messes with the market. So I just avoid it. Like right now, there was some news happening. That's why we ended up doing this process right now. But the concept is simple. I stay away from news like the plague, okay? 5-minute MDMWB has a system on board that has three tools on board. Okay, it has support and resistance, it has the DEX MACD, and it has directional arrows. Let me show you. Okay, we're here over on a DEX Trader website, as you can kind of see. And you can quickly see that we have these lines right here, which is the support and resistance. So these lines right here are support and resistance areas. The more lines that gather, the thicker the line, the stronger the support or resistance. Now remember, support and resistance, that if it's above it, if the line is above the price, this line is then considered resistance. If it's below the price, it's considered support. Okay, because it's going to support it up. And if it's above it, it's going to be called resistance, which is going to tap it down for it's resisting that level. Once it pierces that level, it switches. So if it's above it and it falls down below it, it now becomes resistance. If it's below it and it goes above it, and now becomes support. Just keep that in mind. Now, the other design here is that this is the MACD that's down here. Now, this is called the DEX MACD. It has a few other variables, right? It has three lines. It has a signal line, and it has two variable lines, as well as a histogram in here of a high and low, basically. So if it's below it and moving up, there's a lot of little different variables that are in here, and you'll see that in training inside. But it's another tool that's on board the system. Now, sometimes the tools here could be a little fickle in using, but I personally like the process of being able to use my keyboard and a few other things, but it's very, very simple. And it is about just kind of setting it up and letting it do its thing. Now, there are some tools in here, like using my mouse wheel now to move the zoom and zoom out. I'm looking for what we refer to as trend at this point, and then I can zoom back in and then scroll over. Okay, and I show you how to do that all into training. But the concepts here is that the next part of the process, besides the MACD, is the directional arrows. Okay, and what I do is that I spot the trend to find which arrows I'm going to follow the most. Okay, and we'll talk about that here in the next slide. Okay, so we've seen the support and resistance, we've seen the DEX MACD, and we've seen the directional arrows. The flow of what to do. You remember the patience and discipline thing? The flow is the following. And it was a little hard to say. So the flow comes from one, following a trend. Now remember, a trend, simply enough, is a direction of the market with higher highs or lower lows, but it's always beating the last high or beating the last low down. Okay, so as higher lows happen or higher highs happen, this is called an uptrend. Okay, and the opposite value, if the market keeps flowing downwards like this is called a downward trend. Now, during this time, there is going to be certain arrows that are going to be coming out. Okay, when you get pullback, you get up arrows, and then once it starts to back in a direction, you might get positive arrows going in the same direction as the trend. I look for this process. I look for a consistent value of trend and then markers to say, okay, we have some pullback, so it's coming up again. And then the very first arrow that comes back in the direction of the trend, that's the one I'm looking at. Now I look at support and resistance from this point, right? So then I look for I'm looking for the trend. So I spot the trend, which is down. I wait for the arrow, the proper arrow to come out, right? Not any arrow, but a proper arrow heading in the direction of my trend. Okay, and I look for a trend that's probably over a period of about 50 bars, right? Remember, there's bars that or candles, I should say. So candles, okay? I look about over 50 candles, and that's really easy to do on the site, right? And so as I spot that trend, I'm waiting for, if it's a downtrend, let me redo this. If it's a downtrend, I'm looking for, if this is heading downwards, I'm looking for, once the up arrows come out and that very first down arrow after a couple of up arrows have happened, okay? And then I look at support levels, okay? If my support level is under my down arrow, I kind of pull back just a little bit because this is something that scares me a little because it's above. This line is creating remember, support. and it's going to support that number there. So it might not give me the number that I need to be fluent with my trend. But if it's actually the opposite and it's the support line is above and a down arrow, this is supporting my action to be in the trade. So I look for a downtrend after a second arrow or a third arrow or many up arrows or what have you. And then I look for support and resistance. So trend, reverse arrows, and then I look for support and resistance. These three check marks indicate that, hey, I'm good for a trade. Now this has to happen very quickly. All right. So I'm looking for that to happen. And then certain things need to happen now on the fourth flow on Nadex, which we'll go over and I'll show you here in a second in a proper trade. When I place a working order, I place the price that I want on the price that I need from this section. Okay. And I'll show you how to read all that here in the next slide. Okay, so here we are, and what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to pull this particular trade in, and what I was looking for, okay, and I'm waiting for a trade to not really come around, but what I'm looking for is that where's the trend heading, and I can easily see that the trend is heading downwards, right? We do get some consolidation here, but there is a value of trend still happening here. So what I do is that I look for the trend. Here are those couple of up arrows. And then this particular arrow that fired off right there was the one that I was really looking for. So if I isolate that, what I do is I take my mouse. It automatically makes a four-way cursor, as you can kind of see right here, that four-way cursor right there, okay? And I hold it over the tip of the arrow. Now the tip of the arrow is basically the marker from where I want this trade to be. So that's right around 73.84, as you can kind of see right here, 73.84. Now remember, the fourth number is the pip. Okay, so 7384. Now that's the number that I wanted at that time. That's the price for the market price or the indicative price that we want on the website, on Nadex. Okay, this is the statements we're looking to be really close to. Now, once I get over there, I'm going to have to see if there's something available for that statement, and we got to kind of round up or round down. Now, also keep in mind that another thing that I look for is the last little hill before this arrow. So if we're heading down, I'm looking for like areas here and where are my support and resistance lines, right? Because as you remember, I said that I'm looking for, sorry for 1 second here, that I was looking for the support line right here, or this arrow has a support line right here, which is only right around couple different pips, 73.82 to 73.84. So that's only a few pips. So could this have been something that would have had a loss to it? And the answer is no, it would have won, but the problem is that we wouldn't have known that from this point. Now, this second arrow that comes up with the price being above it is also very reluctant. Now, because I never go after the second arrow on a price or on a trade. I'm looking for that very first one. So this this AUD USD wouldn't have been a signal for me. I wouldn't have traded that one. So I would simply have looked for another one of the four. Now, here is another example. We have a downtrend. Let me get back over again. We have a downtrend happening. I got to refresh the screen here for 1 second because I'm using a recording system. It's also a little bit of a pain in the butt sometimes to try to get exactly where I want to be. Okay, so here we go. So this downtrend that was happening, okay, which is happening like this, here are the two arrows for the downside. Here's the three up. This one here, we were still pretty close to it. And again, real close to our support and resistance, but real support would have been down here at this level, I feel. Okay, so I could have used this one as an example, and this would have been a winner. Now, we have two up arrows happening now. Remember, we're having a downward trend. I'm only going back about 50 bars here, so not too many. All right, so maybe that's not another one that I would have gotten into. Okay, here's another one that's a downtrend. We have a couple of down arrows that happen. Now, this one would have been after this trade, after this signal came out, this arrow came out easily, right? And look, we're below our support and resistance, so now it's considered resistance. I would have easily grabbed a price structure close to 31, right here, 3109 on the site. I would have been looking for that particular price, or the market or the indicative price on Nadex at that level, and trying to find a market price on it to be good above $30. Now, once that happened, easily we won. Now, I didn't get into the second one. I wouldn't have got into the second one. One, because I try not to ever get into a second arrow in the same direction. Okay? And there's a support level here. Now, it's a resistance level at this level, right? And easily done its job, right? The Great Britain Pound USD does follow a lot of the support and resistance areas that are on these systems, so you have to keep that in mind. Now, I watched this bounce off and go in for this direction. Could this have been something that on the pullbacks, will it work for our advantage? Yes, you do have an availability to trade all of these signals, all the trade signals, but it's not recommended. I'm waiting for perfection. I'm not waiting for just anything and hopefully my 82% now. I want 92 to 95% success. And if I can't get it, I don't want to trade it, right? Let's look at this last one here. Now, the USD JPY is a little bit different. This one's in an uptrend. So what we're looking for is the first arrow after a couple of down arrows this time, right? Which is right here. Now, the good thing is that this resistance line is still pretty far away. Since I'm at 1129, this is 1133, about 4 pips away. So I think we still would have had a good chance to do it. And because this little mini support line's here, this would have been directly below it, which would have created even more of a jump for it. Now, did it fall down below it? Yes, it did, just a little bit for a few minutes, but it would have easily won by the end. Now, what do I mean? Is there a price available on Nadex? Well, easily enough, we're going to use this example here. I was hoping that we'd have a down arrow coming, and we still may have a down arrow hit us. But as I'm looking for a trade to get into, I'm going to pause just for a few seconds here and wait for a good signal to come over and show you an actual trade about to happen, just so you can kind of see that here. And if you're getting paused, this is on the recording here. I'm waiting for, here we go. This is the down arrow. Nope, too late. We got to wait for another one because it's only 1 minute left on the actual trade itself. So, but see, this one would have been one that I wouldn't have gotten into. Why? Because the down arrow on this uptrend, the support and resistance level, SR level, this would have been, so is it within my flow of the trend? Yes. Is it? Then I look at support and resistance, and the support and resistance flow is no. Okay? So trend, yes. Support and resistance, no. Would it have been a good price on Nadex? That could have been a possibility. If that was a yes, then I can take that into consideration as well. With 1 minute left, this would have won, and easily it did. Okay? But it would have also gotten to a point, 1135, and it closed out at 1134. So this may have been a win or a loss on Nadex, okay, as well, because we don't use the indicative price here. This is spot Forex pricing. All right, so let's look. Here we go. There's a signal, but it's against the trend arrow, against the trend arrow, against the trend arrow, and there's no signal there. Now, you can look at other pairs that are on here, but personally, I don't do that because I am looking for basic value of an uptrend still happening. So let's look at this one right here. It's right against the support and resistance area, okay, just right at it. So let's just use that as an example. Euro Great Britain Pound, Euro JPY at 130.34. So now I'm going to go over to Nadex, and I'm going to look on the 5-minute signals, not binaries, but 5-minute binaries. Right there, Euro JPY. And I'm going to look at the price back over again, and I'm looking at 130.33 because I'm at the tip of that arrow. I want to be at 130.33. Now at 130.33, the only thing that's available is the 130.31. As you can kind of see, there's 3 minutes left, and it doesn't seem like I haven't refreshed in a while, so let me refresh. I'm going to go back over. You may not be able to see some of the stuff on the side, and I do apologize. Okay, there's not too much available. I don't know because, oh, that's right, because there's a lot of news happening right at the moment. That's the other thing. There's some major news happening, so there's probably not a lot of trades happening that are available right now. But I'm going to show you there'll be some links to some trades that'll be being done. That's a whole nother video. But the pricing structure of having the matrix, when you come to the pair, there's usually 5 trades. There's 5 statements available, right? And they're all within a certain amount of pips apart. Some 4, some 5. There's some differences in opinion on how many there are, depending on liquidity of the market and what have you, right? Now, the bid price to offer price. This is where things get a little convoluted and a little misstructured. If there's nothing available, right? If there's nothing available, like we're looking for $30 here, right? On the sell side. Now, we would be looking for $70 over here because that would mean $30 profit margin. But if we were looking for $30 here and there's only $8.25, we don't get into that trade. What we're looking to do is that if this was $11.35 and we're looking for the sell, then we go in and make a working order and put $30 in our working order to make profit, right? And that's really simple. We just click that. It's under the sell. We do $30 and we hit place order, because we're looking for a max profit of 30 bucks. Okay? It's that simple. And then if it doesn't fill within the last minute or so, last 30 seconds, take your working order off. All right? Because what we're looking to really do is to be at a certain level. Now, it has to be a sell above 130.336. Right? Oh, wait, wrong one. Let's see, 130, yeah, 130.33. That's the number. So it should be, so we're looking at this number right here. We got a couple minutes left. We got 1 minute and 15 seconds left for it to be above 111.33. And it's pretty damn close, right? Could be below. Could be a winner, could be a loser. But there was no 111.33 here. There was no availability for that. So we would have probably gotten in really close to 131 and put in a marker on it, and I don't know if we would have gotten bought or not. If this falls down, now you see the money just came back on again for the 133. So if I do that, if I do $70 and I hit place order, it's going to sit in this working order format. Now, sometimes it could get filled, it may not. I usually don't like putting anything super close to expiry on board, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off. Okay, but that's basically what we're looking to do. We're looking to get as close as we can to a number without being above it, right? We could be below it. Instead of 111.33, we were at a 111.31, and we put a working order on. If it works out great, but it's not going to work against you, right? It's giving you a buffer, if you will. The other is that this trade may not have happened because if you see, the signal came out and it was right below that support and resistance. Okay, right below that resistance. So this probably would not have been a good trade to get into. Let's see if we can find one more here before I sort of have to put it into a different video. Okay, because this is a downtrend, we've broken this little hump here, so we don't know if this is a reversal. Usually a couple arrows up, a couple of breakages. You may want to take a break on this now and not, maybe you're looking to break this level for it to say, hey, look, we're reversing trend. But I look at that, if that breaks just a little bit, I may look at a different pair for a little while. Remember, we're looking for a down arrow on some of these because this is the uptrend, right? Here's the down arrow. Now we're waiting for an up arrow to happen here. Once you get a pace on a pair, you can almost tell when it's about the pullback is finished and it's about to go up, right? Because you can really look back. How many arrows have ever appeared on a trend, right? Does that make sense? How many arrows have ever in one direction on the trend? How many times has the arrows appeared, right? You could even go back in a little bit of history and look at that as well and say, okay, well, it's never given me more than 3 arrows in one direction, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. On some of them, maybe 3 may be the most, maybe 4 at the most, the absolute most. But it may be to that point where you use that spectrum. But you have to know by doing a few things. And that's record keeping. See, there's 3. This might be the one where you use the support area or the resistance, or support area here at 1129 to make a trade on the USD JPY. Or just in the fact of putting, what was that, 1123? 1129. And you can see easily enough 1129 is available, but there's no money on it, right? So I could easily do something like this to where I want to make my $30. See, making my 30 bucks, and just place my order. And I do this in such a fashion that if it does happen to drop or fall down, I can do that. I'm not looking to make the 1133 work because it's at a 50-50 kind of margin, right? Could it work? I don't know. Because 1133 is all the way up here. Could it be above that process? I don't know. I really don't. Could I use it to be below it? Yeah, I could use it to be below it, but I also, it's sitting at a 50-50. And now it's 40, 33, 43, what have you. But still, I'm not going to risk that gamble. I'm looking for the foreshores. I'm looking for the, hey, this is all the things line up, right? It's not my flow, right? And that's what I'm looking for. The first thing the first thing to do in the flow is what? Spot trend. Which way is the trend going? Well, on here, it's going up. So this is a down arrow, so that's a no. The next would be, where's my support and resistance? Is it above or below my number? Is it supporting me or is it resisting me? Is it going in my direction or not? And if it is, that's a check mark to get into the trade. And then I look for price on Nadex. You know, I can also look at the MACD to see if it's convoluted with if it's in the same direction, if it's converging with the same thing. If this is up and this is up, it's all moving forward in the same direction. It's above the histogram line of 0. It's got a crossover. It's got all these things. Did a crossover just happen? And boom, this is the pullback. You know, this first, you could do this on pullbacks as well. If you find yourself not getting into any trades, you could start looking for pullbacks on a particular pair. Okay. Now I've gone through an extremely large amount of information here. So we're going to pause for a second and I'm going to come back in just a minute. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee. Okay. So 1 second. So we went over this just as a recap that we want to be able to follow flow. If it gives us a check mark that, yes, we're in the direction of our flow and our trend is up and our signal is down, our very first signal after a few up arrows, and that's a check mark to be in the trade. We wait for the arrow. We get our arrow in the right direction. We look for the things that are against the arrow for the SR level. So if your check mark is for down and your level is a support, it's a win. If it's a resistance, don't get into the trade. Make sense? You look for the right price on Nadex. If your 111.33 has 0 money on it, put a working order. If it has $30 and above, get into the trade. If it's just below $30, guess what? Put a working order on it. It's that simple. Don't adjust your $30. Why? Because let's look at support. Let's look at risk to reward value here, right? If I get in for $30 on a trade, it means that my reward's $30, but my risk is 70, right? This is a negative risk to reward ratio, right? This means for every trade here, if I lose this trade, I have to win 2.5 trades back to make that up. But I don't even look at those numbers right now because I know that if I get into a trade with those arrows, I have a 70% chance of winning that trade. Oop, not dollars. I have a 70% chance of winning that trade. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. And with the success rate of our system being anywhere between 80% and 92%, depending on your process on how you follow the flow, the stronger you follow the flow, you can do between 92 and 95%. I can tell you that right now. This is the ratio I sit at. This is where I vibrate at when I trade 5-minute trading. Okay? But as soon as you start breaking this and going against your rules, you're going to fail. All right? So I look for the right price because I want that $30. If I go for 18 bucks, I'm then at a partition. Yes, I'm going to win, 82% of it, but I'm getting $18. If I lose, then I gotta win like 6 trades back. Does that make sense? So I don't want that. I want to get the money that I want to get. I place my working order on, and I let patience now, because I've done the discipline. I've waited for the right trade. I've done the discipline, which is get your price and stay with it, right? No scalping. Don't scalp out. Don't do any of that stuff. I get my price. Now, in order for me to really validate my system in the programs, I needed to keep track. So when I keep track of my stuff, I do so in this kind of format, right? I do this in this spreadsheet kind of format, which I use the Nadex spreadsheet, and I copy and paste it, and I move it all around, and I create values. I teach you how to do this all inside by these little algorithms that you'll see inside, like that right there. That's up here and right in this corner. Okay, so it's really important for you to know that there is a tremendous amount of information that comes with trading. And in order to do so, it takes time and patience to be able to get that. So you know where your mistakes are and your success and where it really comes from. This isn't about luck. It's not about keeping track. It's about keeping track of facts, but it's not about luck. It's not just flipping a coin. You really do need to follow a flow. You do need to keep track of it. And you do need to know that you're heading in the right direction. If not, then you're willy-nilly everywhere. Okay? This isn't about keeping track of your balance. It's about keeping track of your posture as you're trading, making it slow and smooth. Remember, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. It's a military analogy, but the concept's true. If you take it nice and slow, you get into the proper trades, you're going to win more trades than not, a lot more trades than not. And when you do win, you're always going to be above that positive ROI. A lot of people ask when to trade. The big answer is when you can. Of course, never during the news, right? That's it. It's that when do you have the time to trade? That's the beauty part about 5-minute trades, is that you don't have to wait for a long, lengthy setup. The setup happens pretty quickly in a couple of minutes. And if the market's kind of erratic, then you wait 5 minutes. You wait 10 minutes. Your wait time between them, when you're doing daily trades or hourly trades, you got to wait an hour for the trade cycle to finish. In 5 minutes, you only got to wait 5-10 minutes. Big questions. How many pairs should I use? Well, only as many as you know. Now, I'm not saying that don't go out and try to trade all 7 pairs, but you could probably trade 1 really, really well and 2 moderately well in the very beginning if they're opposite pairs, say an Audi USD and a Euro JPY of sort, right? Because then you're trading with the Audi, the USD, and the JPY and the Euro, right? That's 4 different pairs that are happening, and there are 4 different currencies that are happening. So if news comes out that affects the USD, then you could probably still trade the Euro JPY. Right? So just keep that in mind. And the best way to learn how to use a pair properly, because all pairs are different at different times, is to pick a time and sit down and trade and see what your success rates are and your consistency rates are with that pair during that time period. But you need to give yourself really big times to do that, 100 trades, 200 trades for that system. Okay? Once you do a certain amount of trades, remember, you don't want to force trades and you don't want to force all these pairs to happen. Abstinence from those pairs is your best friend. When you're not sure what the market is, stay out of it. And lastly, remember that the more distractions you have, the easier it is to lose. Okay? So make sure that when you're doing this, you're taking your time. All right. Well, I've spent enough time in this thing trying to tell you about the trading systems and all that for 5-minute trading. There's a lot of information inside. So I'm about to head off and trade. So I'll make sure I see you next time. But, I don't want to forget you, okay? I want to tell you about this offer that I have. But I have to warn you, it's very unique. And it's going to take some really hard work on your time and on your part. All right? Here, let me tell you what it is. I'm looking for traders. And this is real simple. I'm looking for traders that want to trade 5-minute trades. Okay, so if you're trading a whole bunch of things out there, this may not be for you. I want you to come on board with me and I mean personally train you, okay? That you're going to have direct contact with me. Ask questions, get answers, follow a flow. You could be in a chat room. My personal number's on the site, and you have access to call me. You set times to go over more trading. Okay? I also help you with your system and all those programs. Now, I usually charge between $200 to $300 a month for this process, but I'm looking to give this out for a very low price because I have something that I want from you as well. So this is a quid quo pro thing, right? I'm going to give you all this great stuff and my own personal time, but I need something from you. And here's where the offer. I want you to pick up a phone. Now, normally there'd be like a link there, right? But I'm going to give you this code directly because you're going to talk to me and I'm going to sort of engage with you and we're going to find out, are you ready for this process? Is this something that you really want to do? And I want to be able to help you. I want you to be able to get this. So you can write into the website, you can contact us through the phone number, but call me and talk to me. This is absolutely free for you to talk to me, okay? And this is what will happen. We'll talk for a little while. We'll get to know each other. I can help you get into 5-minute trading, and I can also help assess whether or not you should or not, okay? I'm looking for traders that I can advance and get to their goals, to your goal, what you want, right? If you're looking to make $2,000 or $3,000 a month, that can be done. It'll take time, but it can be done. But what has to happen is that you have to follow a certain flow, and I need to talk to you and know if that's going to be you. Because once you do that, I want to duplicate you. That's right. I want you to help me duplicate you and help other people. So if you're prepared for something like that, if you're prepared for me to personally train you and help you with this, you know, because it's hard to train all these people. I don't have enough time in the day, and I want to help as many people as I can. So I can't make you into me, but I want you to become so proficient that you can help other people too and answer questions. It might be just simply being in a chat room. But if you're willing to do this, if you're willing to engage with me to help get to the next level, instead of being 147 and all this other money and $200, $300 a month for all this stuff, you're going to get it for a lot lower. So I think it's like $97 a month or something to that effect. Okay? But I look forward to speaking to you on this phone call. Remember, it only takes just a few minutes. All right? So call the office. Here's the number, 603-369-6875. If I don't pick up, try calling again and wait a little bit, and I'll try to call you right back. Maybe I'm on the line with somebody else, or I'm interviewing someone else for the same thing. Okay, but we're looking to bring on a lot of people here, and I need as much help as I can possibly get. So if you're willing to jump on board, it's very, very low cost compared to what you're going to get. You're going to get so much stuff. In fact, you'll learn all about the indicators, trade Nadex, great stuff that's on board. Very, very cool. But you're going to see it's going to be worth every penny and every second of your time, because in the future, you would have reached your goals, and you would have done so with the help by me and our staff and other people, but also because you have done it. You'll be part of that 20%. And I look to make that number 50, 60, 70%. And I can only do that when I have more people like you who are willing to take the opportunity. I look forward to seeing you inside. I'm Max Farrow. This is DexTrader.com. And as always, trade well.